Hey everybody, what's up? Happy New Year. Thanks for watching today. Appreciate it. Hope you all had a great holiday season and New Year's. Great special video today. For the first time, I'm joined by my son Christian here. He's 24 years old. Let's call him my mini-me, but he's not. He's his own person. And he's been training for a while. I think I started training, dragging you to the gym when you were 13.
I was in like 6th grade, so 12, I think.
and you hated it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely hated it. It was a similar pattern to, I made him go to Taekwondo for 8 or 10 years.
Something like that.
I don't know. He hated it. And you never actually did end up liking martial arts that much, right?
I mean, I kind of appreciate it now, but not in the moment, no.
So I gave him the option when he was doing that. When you get your black belt, you don't have to go anymore. And that was it. Once he got his black belt, it was see ya. But weights became a different story. It took a long time. When would you say you actually started like enjoying training and the process of bodybuilding, the whole bodybuilding?
I'm going to say like 15 years old. Like I was maybe a sophomore in high school, and I finally started seeing like the tiniest bit of development, maybe like my biceps and my chest.
Yeah. And, you know, so obviously you grew up around the sport. You know, I took you to shows. You saw me every day. You saw, you know, that was your dad was this bodybuilder guy. Did you feel like pressure to be a bodybuilder, or did that make you not want to be a bodybuilder?
I mean, I guess it's more pressure than anything else. It's like this is what I see all day. I'm surrounded by this. It kind of felt like this is something I should be doing.
So yeah, you say 15, you started kind of like it, but when did you really? I don't think you fully committed to it until
probably not after high school then. Yeah,
college. So like when you were 18, 19.
Yeah.
And you know, people always ask, you know, is he natty? And I say, yeah, he's natty. You know, obviously until you were 21, I sort of had the final say in that, I guess. You're 24 years old. You can do what you want, obviously, but I guess people think I'm a hypocrite because I used steroids. I still am on TRT. Now I'm on just true TRT, but obviously I've been on steroids since, I was 27. So the end of 96. So almost 3 years before you were born, I started using steroids. So it's been a long time now. So you would think, why would you say to your son, you know, you should be natural when you didn't do it? So did that thought occur to you that I was sort of being a hypocrite from discouraging you from using steroids?
I mean, yeah, just flat out, yeah.
Okay. I mean, and another, you know, you've been around people on steroids for, you know, a lot of my friends, me, all the, you know, I cover pretty much exclusively non-tested bodybuilding, open bodybuilding, where there's all kinds of drugs, steroids just being one of them being used. And you were exposed to it. And even now with social media, you see a lot of young guys, even younger than you, significantly younger than you, using steroids and getting these results that, you know, I'll say you're a hard gainer. I don't like to use that term because I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but yeah, you are a hard gainer. I mean, Christian graduated high school at 135 pounds.
I would say even less, probably like 130. Yeah.
130. And even, okay. And then 3 years into college, you know, actually you finished college at about 140.
Yeah.
I mean, so last year was, you know, still natty, but the final piece of the puzzle, I'd say when you finally got dedicated, you were already 23 years old at that point. I don't think you got really serious about the nutrition aspect and eating until you came back from Australia, where he finished his final Australia at University of Queensland in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So I don't think you started eating the way I've been trying to get you to eat for a long time until then. Would you say that's true?
I would agree. Yeah, definitely not the volume.
Yeah, and it's made a tremendous difference in just so that was you got back from Australia in late June.
Yeah.
And you put on now we're not saying this is all muscle, but you put on so you were about 140 when you left Australia?
Yes.
And what was your highest point?
I mean, right now I was like 166, but I ate really bad on the trip we just went on.
Yeah, we were just in Florida for the holidays visiting family. So about 25 pounds in a year naturally. supplement wise, he, people are going to say, well, does he use peptides? Does he use pro hormones? He doesn't use any of that. He has a pre-workout. He has a shake after he trains.
Creatine.
I'm with some creatine. So I'm with Muscle Tech. So he uses those products. He's always used whatever products I have for free, obviously. So he's not on a ton of supplements. It's been food. Whole food has been the main difference, I would say, for you, because you have on average, how many meals a day would you say you have now?
4 to 5.
4 to 5 base.
Yeah.
Before it was 3.
Before it was 3. Yeah.
It just wasn't consistently eating. So, and when I say hard gainer, it's because and I don't want to ever compare you to me, and I discourage you from thinking that way. There was someone who said comparison is the thief of virtue, a very famous person. I remember the quote more so than whoever said it, because if you compare yourself to other people, you're never going to be happy. Mike Cox has joined the Big Mike Cox from MD.
Oh, nice.
I guess the point I'm trying to make with all this is, we'll get to questions and stuff later, but just because I looked a certain way at a certain age, you shouldn't feel pressure that you have to match that, because you're not a clone of me. You have my genes and mom's genes, and I was able to put on muscle faster and get strong faster. And I also think a lot of that, the joint problems, I have a very serious joint problems. I'm in a lot of pain all the time now from different things, were because I got so strong. Because as you guys should know, your muscles have this potential to get much larger over time, particularly when you put gear into the equation. But your connective tissue, especially your tendons, they're never able to catch up. They don't have the capacity, the potential to grow the same way the muscles do. But I don't think I'm going to be able to control you or make say you can and can't do this forever. Obviously, you could, if you want to do steroids now. Well, you wouldn't know where to get them without me helping you get them, but it wouldn't be that hard, put it that way. So why don't you tell people, I should also introduce the fact, for those of you who don't know, and why would you know, he was diagnosed 2-3 years ago.
I want to say 2020.
So it's been it's been a little over 3 years. Yeah, he was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is, one of those inflammatory bowel conditions. What's the catch-all term for all those? Irritable bowel, not irritable bowel syndrome. They're called immune system. Yeah, I made some notes about this, but yeah, it's one of those things. Crohn's disease is a little more serious. Colitis, everyone knows. The only way, there's no cure for colitis. It's basically in lesions inside your inflammation and lesions inside your colon. So what are the major symptoms that you've dealt with about that?
Major symptoms is like I'm constantly tired. No matter how much I rest, I could sleep for 5 hours. I could sleep for 12. It's the same amount of just exhaustion each time. Obviously, like I have trouble eating most things in general. Yeah. Can't eat dairy. Can't eat raw vegetables. Beef is pretty bad. Anything with gluten, anything with a lot of sugar, that's like 80% of all food right off the bat. Just in general, it's hard to gain any weight because how constantly I would be in the bathroom. Yeah.
The food goes right through him. That's why it was more important for him to eat more food, a higher volume and a higher frequency of food. And I'm happy to see his appetite's way up. You eat a lot of food. He's when we were just in Florida visiting family, and I say it in a joking way, he's now the same pain in the ass that I was for all those years, and still am to an extent, where I always have to worry about this guy needs to eat every 2 to 3 hours, no matter what we're doing. If we're at Universal Studios, if we're here, we're there. You got to keep on that eating schedule, or it just messes everything up. But yeah, so the UC, the colitis is one of the main reasons that I really don't want him using steroids, because steroids do suppress your immune system. Because of UC, he has a 6 times higher risk for colorectal cancer than the average person, an increased risk of kidney disease. Those kidney diseases for UC, it's proteinuria, which is protein in your urine, nephrotic syndrome, and the most extreme would be ESRD, end-stage renal disease, which, you'd have to be on dialysis for that. So, it's the fact that he already has health issues and he's on meds for that, mesalamine, a low dose of that every day. It's like, I don't, Yeah, that's another thing. People say, well, you're such a hypocrite. You know, you're leading this, you've been leading this unhealthy lifestyle. Well, just because I've been able to get away with it and not have major health problems up to this point in my life, from 54, doesn't mean that that would be the case for him. And how crappy, how horrible would I feel if his health, or if he developed any serious health conditions because he introduced steroids into the equation. And it would be because of my influence, me being, me being a steroid user for all these years and being around that whole drug scene. I would feel awful. Let's get some questions here. So Big Mike Cox. I always like to make Big Mike Cox. Happy New Year, Mike. Coming from an old man, stay natty as long as possible. Train food. You got a good trainer. Yeah, that's one thing. I eventually he might use steroids. I mean,
who knows?
We're talking when he's 24. It's 2024. I don't know. When he's 27, 30, 35, who knows? But I do feel that the longer you stay natural, or at least if you can build a very, very solid base, and he's doing that now, of size and strength, you'll be better off. Because I see all these kids who, they hop on the gear from like day one. They're eating crap. They're not eating enough. They don't know what the hell they're doing in the gym. They're still going to get results, because any new steroid user is going to get results. But someone who's figured out the nutrition to a T, they're training to a T, they're doing everything right, they're going to get much better results. And if you've already built yourself up to this point without steroids, then you can go to that other level. But if you're starting from nothing and you build everything with steroids, you're going to have to be on steroids all the time. Because I see so many of these young guys over the years I've seen go on steroids from day one, that they don't know how to train without them. They rely on them, because the only way they know how to make gains is with that chemical assistance. They go off the drugs and it's poof, within like a couple months, it looks like they never touched a weight in their lives, because they have no base. I say this all the time, we as steroid users, I'm sure a lot of you watching are users, we're renting a certain part of our size and strength, particularly the size. When we go off, and someday you're gonna have to go off, so you stay on until you stay on a big high dose until you die. Well, you're not gonna live that long if you're on high doses indefinitely. Your body's gonna rebel and shut down you at some point. But when you're a natural bodybuilder, and I encourage people to stay natural. I say you'll keep all your gains, because nothing was built with assistance. As long as you keep training, you're never going to lose your gains, and your health. You're never going to have to worry. Oh no, is this heart problem? Is this kidney problem? Is this liver problem? Is this because of steroids? Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. A lot of people will say, well, it runs in my family and this and that. Well, conditions can run your family, but if you're using drugs that can increase risk for certain conditions, you're not doing yourself any favors. So let's go back to some more questions. Patty, thanks for dropping in. Patty is the wife of the Jamaican tank, Phil Clayhar. She says, even if you didn't have UC, I wouldn't like any of my kids, grandkids to be using steroids either. To be honest, most people won't make any substantial money as a pro, so the work that could be is expensive too. Absolutely. I've known thousands of pros over the years, and very few of them made a really good income from bodybuilding. Things are different now with social media, but they're not making these people aren't making their money from competing. It's their personality and entertaining videos. Sam Solik, he's doing great. Yeah, and Patty makes a good point that you wouldn't want your kids or your grandkids. Because if someone was like a cocaine addict or something in their 20s and 30s and they have kids, would they be wrong for telling their kids, stay away from cocaine? I don't think so. They're hypocrite. You're supposed to let your kids become addicts just because you are? Well, let's go to Mark. It's a great thing you have the experience to help them do things. Yeah, I mean, I've done some dumb shit in my life, a lot of dumb shit. I still do dumb shit, but I try to keep him as safe as I can for as long as I can. He's living in my house at this point, so I keep my eye on him. And I think that's a parent's if you're a parent, the number one responsibility of your life is to provide for your children until they're old enough to provide for themselves, and to keep them safe from harm and keep them healthy in any way you can. I feel obligated to. Okay, so here's one for you, Christian. Christian, I hope you didn't cheer for Queensland, the state of origin. Oh, and stay natty.
I think Queensland was red. I think I was cheering for blue because that's what my one Australian roommate wanted us to cheer for.
Yeah. Now, would you ever want to live in Australia, you think?
I would rather live there than like Miami or something.
Yeah, we just got back from Miami. I said, would you ever want to live here? He said, I couldn't afford it. He said, I couldn't afford it because we're seeing like Lamborghinis. Every other car is a Lamborghini and this and that. There's a lot of money in Miami. But I said, answer quick. That wasn't what I asked you. It wasn't if you could take that out of the equation. Would you want to live here? And he said, nah.
I'm not a city guy.
Mike says, it's good you're so open and honest with your son. I mean, they're going to find out everything anyway that you've done pretty much. So,
There's no point in hiding anything.
So, yeah, here's a good one from Toronto Muscle. Toronto being part of the great nation of Canada.
Yep.
You got the Harris quads. Question mark? Exclamation point. So I think he's just making a statement there.
Yeah, so they say.
No, I'd say the two, like I said, he's not a clone. The two things he got from me for sure are the chest and the quads. Yeah, I mean, he's got good shoulder width. But you know what? He doesn't have great genetics for bodybuilding. Most people don't. So, if you're using, you'll hear the argument, well, no one should go on steroids unless you're going to, Dorian said that, unless you're going to be making a living from bodybuilding. Well, obviously then there would be very few people using steroids. People use them to look better, feel better about themselves. It's just like breast implants or butt implants or makeup on women, fake lashes. It's just something people use. And most people that use steroids don't compete, no desire. But he does want to compete. Now, did you always want to compete, or was this like more of a recent desire?
I mean, I've always wanted to compete, but I've never had the confidence that I could actually achieve that. I could actually get on stage. I've never felt worthy looking at my physique or looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And now I can finally see maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel, something that I can achieve. That's why I want to compete.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of that is because you've only been exposed to enhanced bodybuilding. I hate the word drug bodybuilding. You've really only been exposed to physiques that were on drugs, right?
Yeah, up until that one show we went to a couple months ago. Yeah.
So in October, I took him down to Fall River. There's a bodybuilding organization called OCB. Most of their shows are in the New England area. They do have others further away, but he had never been to a natural show, and I started out competing naturally from 1989 to 95. I probably did about a dozen natural shows, tested shows, urine tests, polygraph tests. I was natty for life up until 27 years old. So you finally saw physiques that were achieved without drugs. Granted, there were still a couple of great physiques there, especially classic is a division he would do because open bodybuilding is still, he doesn't have that much muscle for open bodybuilding. And I think most young guys don't want to do that anyway. I think most guys want to do classic now. It's like the division that has captured an entire generation. But what was the difference when you finally saw physiques that were achieved without drugs versus everything you've seen up until that point?
I mean, it really just I saw the guys there and I thought, I'm not leagues and leagues away from this. I could get there where they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really just gave me newfound confidence, newfound motivation that this is doable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I again, I might get some flack I'm saying when my son competes, I want him in one of those shows. Because the non-tested shows, I know there are a couple tested NPC shows, but the best ones I know of, Dave Lieberman puts on Ohio. We're not going to Ohio for his first show. So yeah, I might get some flack for it because, as someone who works, well, right now I'm not working, but someone who's worked in the industry, I could only report on and discuss IFBB Pro League and NPC. I was never, it was really frowned upon to even mention that there were other organizations and stuff. And I don't see them as much of a threat to the NPC and the IFBB Pro League anyway. Really, they have the lion's share of the market in every way possible. It's not like these little OCB shows are threatening the existence or even the profit margins. Most of these kids that want to compete now, they're on drugs anyway. They're not going to do the natural shows. So yeah, that's what I would put him in, and that's where. So I would never throw him into a non-tested show because right now he's already 24. He's going to be with the open men. He's not a teen. He's not a junior. Open men, how many of them are natural? Very in a non-tested show, few and far between. And I always tell natty guys, unless you have awesome genetics in your natural, which there are some of them, and they can compete because they have that beautiful shape and structure and symmetry, and they don't have to be huge and heavy to really impress people on stage. I say competing as a natural athlete in a non-tested show is like walking into a gunfight with a little butter knife. Good luck. You're going to probably get shot in the face and die. So you're going to get your ass kicked. Yeah, let's see what else we got. Just tapped in. Our stuff. I think Christian has a great chance to keep his hair. Yeah, he's classic guy. I missed the beginning. Oh no, the supplements that he's using are Muscle Tech, because I'm with Muscle Tech, so I get as part of my deal with them, I get some big box supplements. So he's on the Nitro Tech whey protein. After the workout, they make their 6-star creatine, 6-star and Muscle Tech are all owned by the same company. So before the workout, he has creatine, the Nitro Tech. I'm sorry, he has that plus a pre-workout. For some reason, the Euphoric. The only one that doesn't make his face flush is it's Vapor X, the blue raspberry. And then after the workout, he has the Nitro Tech whey protein and another scoop of the mass gainer that they have. And I throw in some glutamine in that too. But yeah, that's another thing. Your hair. I mean, I'm starting to lose my hair, as it should be pretty obvious right there. That's the hair I used to have right there. I'm not going to even make myself look worse and show the very, very thin bald spot back here. There's still some wispy hair, but yeah, but I honestly, I'm not doing a cop out. I don't think I'm losing my hair because of steroids, because I have 4 brothers. We just took a group picture. I'm not going to humiliate. I'm not going to show the picture and make an example out of everybody, but we all have this same recession. My younger brother, Steve, is 3 years younger than me, his uncle, and he has less hair than me, right?
I don't really
pay attention. It's thinner here, and the recession goes up like another maybe inch or so, and his bald spot's bigger. And he's never even seen a steroid, my brother Steve. So I think it is genetic, but maybe I still would have kept more hair because I have more hair than them. Maybe I would have kept all my hair had I never been on steroid. I don't know. Then again, Steve, the fact that Steve has the same parents as me, same mother and father, I'm not sure about that. We'll never know.
It's a big what if.
But yeah, keeping your hair is a big deal. Okay, you can answer this one.
What's your son's current training split, and what are his thoughts on staying natural, and is it a health decision? Well, my current split is I do 2 days on, 1 day off. I'll do 1 day chest and triceps. Day after that, strictly back. Third day, I do shoulders and biceps. I'll get like my traps in there too. And then for the 4th day, just straight leg workout, like pushing my legs to torture pretty much. I'm on push-pull legs, and he was on that for a good amount of time too. How long do you think he did that? Like a couple of years.
About 2 years, yeah. I think it's a great split. I just think he needed a little change in his routine. So that's the only reason. He could go back to push-pull split. I honestly don't even think the split that people follow, it's that important. I just think training a body part, I do push-pull split because I don't want to go that long without training a body part. Whereas I think for him being natural and having the UC issue, I think a little more recovery is probably a good idea for him, because actually since you changed that split because you were already eating the same, you're eating enough, the multiple meals and everything. When you change that split, you put on, I think the last 10 pounds you put on him since we changed up your split. It got more rest days, right?
I mean, yeah, more rest in general just helped a lot. I just feel better day to day.
Yeah. Because like I said, push-pull legs, if you do it that way, the classic way to do it that most people do is push-pull legs. So 3 on, then 1 off, repeat. That's 3 days of training in a row. I think for someone who is more of a hard gainer and someone who needs to focus more on recovery, and I would put him in that category, I think 2 days training in a row, take a day off. I don't think you should do more than 2 days with weights consecutively. I think you're better off just having a little more rest and recovery. So far, so good. It's working. Like I said, in about 6 months' time, he went from 140 to 165 naturally with, no pro-hormones, nothing like that. So, okay. So here's the second part of the question.
Yeah.
Is staying natural for you mainly a health decision?
I mean, yeah. And also like he said, I don't want any borrowed muscle. I want to see my natural potential. And if I want to go further from there, then I can always try drugs, I guess.
That's the thing, is if you start bodybuilding on drugs, you'll never know what you could have done without them. And some people say, well, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And they'll make examples. This Sean Ray, this pro started very young. He was a teenage bodybuilder. Don't use those people. Like, never use the pros like that as examples, because they're not like you and me. They're not. They're like a 1% of 1% of the population. They have just more receptors to grow muscle. To everything is gifted with them. So that's like comparing yourself to an alien, because they are technically human beings, but they're almost like another species in the way that their bodies respond to training, food, drugs. They just explode with muscle growth. You don't, I don't, he doesn't. Yeah, I think we answered the question. Yeah. So like I said, if you start on drugs, you'll go to this far with drugs. I really believe there's never been any study, so I can't say if this is factual or not, but I believe if you build a very good natural base and then introduce drugs, you'll be bigger in the long run than someone who never had that natural base. That's my feeling on it. But and, I use examples like Kai Green and Ronnie Coleman, and you can there's people say they were never natural. They came out of their mama's womb on trend. It's always trend. No, Kai was natural for many years. I saw Kai go from a 215-pound Team Universe winner to like a 270-pound guy who was winning the Arnold Classic within a couple of years. So if he was already on drugs when he turned pro, which I don't believe he was, because Universe was, you can say the testing procedures, well, that he wouldn't have made that much progress. The leap would not have been so significant. The same thing with Ronnie. I believe Ronnie Coleman turned pro naturally. Back in late 91, he went to the World Championships in Poland, the IFBB World. Out of 40 heavyweights, there was no super heavyweight division. So they used to ask people at the Nationals to take a urine test to see who wanted to go to the World Championships, the Universe. It was a tested show. There were 40 guys in Ronnie's class. That was the year Kevin Leveroni won the overall. The only guy who showed up out of that heavyweight division to take the piss test to go to the Universe was Ronnie, and he was clean, and he went. He won. He turned pro at about, again, 215, and Ronnie's like almost 6 foot, or he was, 5'11". Ronnie would eventually, and I believe he was natural even the first couple of years as a pro. So he turned pro at 215. He had already been training and competing for a couple of years at that point. He'd been training for like a good, 12 or 15 years at that point. He started training as a kid in middle school, I think. He eventually would compete at like 296 at his heaviest. So if he had already been on drugs at 215, I don't think he would have been able to get to almost 300 pounds. That's all muscle. That's why I'm using stage weight. That's like almost 85 pounds of muscle. So that guy's 6. I commend you some staying natural, lifetime natural here. You get big and strong, consistently trained, diet, and recovery. Yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Christian, but it makes me sad that your generation, you're Gen X technically. I think you're one of the oldest in Gen X.
I thought I'm Gen Z.
I'm sorry, Gen Z. I'm Gen X. What am I saying? I'm putting you in my generation. So I feel sad that this generation has such an awareness, an over-awareness of drugs, steroids, other drugs, that they don't believe anything is possible without it. They don't believe you can get any bigger or stronger naturally. And if anyone has any muscle, they must be on steroids. It was a very different time when I was a kid starting out. Nobody talked about steroids. There was no internet. It was like a little secret among the top guys. I honestly believe that they all got that way just with hard training, eating. The guys at the Mr. Olympia back then, whatever. I had no idea that steroids were something, that they were these drugs that were used to build size and strength and all that. And because of that ignorance, they say ignorance is bliss. Because nobody was there to tell me you can't get any bigger. You need drugs or you can't do it. You can't get any bigger or stronger. I got a lot bigger and stronger. I was chunky because I was. You seen the pictures. I got to 230 pounds naturally. Granted, freaking double chin and big fat dimples on my ass, but strong as fuck. Now I was very strong. Before I touched a drug, I could squat 405 for a good 10, 12 reps. I could press, I could do like 120s for flat incline on hand shoulders. I could do them all 3 angles. I won't go through all the weights, but I was very strong because I had no mental block that it couldn't be done. I remember Skip LaCour told me years ago, he benched within like a year, and he was natural. He benched 500 pounds, and people were like, wow. And he said, is that a lot? Because he didn't know that you couldn't do it. It was impossible to do naturally. But you're better off not knowing. But unfortunately, because of these things, everything. Everything is, I'm sad that all these kids, I see kids as young as like 12 and 13 on their TikToks and their whatever, is talking about trend. They want to get on trend. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
If you're a teenager on trend, to me, that's just like, I don't know. It's like, did you even try the process of lifting naturally? Like, give it a year or two. Yeah, it's simple as that. I just feel like it's a very weak mindset to have when you're starting off so young. It's like, well, let me jump the gun and go straight to hard drugs with in terms of steroids. I don't know. It's just like with social media, I think the most hurtful thing is people on drugs saying they're not on drugs and being
fake natties.
fake natties being like, oh, you can look like me without drugs. That's very hurtful to the natty community, I guess.
And I anytime I mention Sam Sulek, he doesn't promote drug use. He does not. He does basically by his actions promote eating crap food by the stuff he eats in the videos, but I'm not against. I think he's he seems like he's a very down to earth, smart kid. He's 21's a kid. I don't care what you say. But at the same time, because it's very obvious, anyone these days, everybody knows about steroids and the juiced up look. It's clear to anyone with eyes that he's on a good amount of gear. So even though he's not saying I use steroids and you should use them too, he's not saying that. But at 21 years old, being 240, 250, whatever he is, and the acne, and the kids see that and go, yeah, I'm gonna get it. You see them, it's like, I'm gonna hop on trend. I want to look just like Sam. And like I said, it's really I think it's your generation, and it's the whole generation who grew up with the internet. Things are so much faster. Everything's fast now.
Yeah.
I used to have to write a letter, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, drop it in a mailbox. I had a pen pal in England, a girl. It took me like 2 years when I was like 10 or 12 years old to have a conversation with her back and forth. That could have been done in 5 minutes on instant messaging. So there you go. So waiting is something that's kind of a foreign concept because the world moves so much faster. Technology's made things faster. So I understand these kids. I don't approve of it by any means, but I understand why. If I tell a 16-year-old kid, a 15-year-old kid, it's going to take you like 10 years or so to build a really good physique. 10 years old, 10 years when you're 15, that sounds like 1,000 years, right?
Might as well be 50 by then.
Yeah, you might they're not wanting to hear that. Mark, stay natural as long as you can and start getting until it's 30. Oh, even later than me, Mark. Good for you. And Mark, if you don't know, Mark has won the New England NPC New England overall, and he did it all with one hand. He's missing all the fingers, and
oh wow.
And I think he was born. It was born that way. I think Mark, you just have like a half a thumb there. So I've trained with him. Everything is pushing is no problem. He just pushes from the palm of his hand. But everything for back or biceps, just straps. He has to strap in the weight. And I've trained with him, and he was super strong. Are you a fan of Sam Sulek?
I don't really care for him. He's kind of doing his own thing. I respect that he's got his own platform. He's making money and everything, but I don't think what he's saying is very positive to like young people trying to get into weightlifting. He's telling people to ego lift and eat like shit, and that's just not what you should do.
Let's give him. I don't know if he's telling. Is he telling people that, or if that's just the example that he's setting? I don't think he's telling.
It's unclear to me at least.
But like I said, you have to lead by example. He is a role model. Whether he's got millions and millions of followers. I think there's like 20 million on TikTok. YouTube channel millions, Instagram millions and millions. So he's a role model, whether he wants to be or not. People are going to emulate someone who they want to be like. So if they see someone eating Five Guys and drinking a gallon of chocolate milk and eating donuts, they're going to eat that way and it's a lot easier to eat that way. If I tell you no, eat a chicken breast and a plain chicken breast and a plain baked potato, and Sam's sitting there eating, what's a really good cereal? Fruity Pebbles?
Yeah, he likes Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles and drinking chocolate milk. You got some Krispy Kreme donuts. What's going to be more appealing to someone? Eat this and go, choke down a dry chicken breast? Of course they're going to go for what's the easier, more attractive, tastier option. So I don't blame them. But, yeah, what was the other thing? The nutrition. The ego lifting. Yeah, so people will say, well, I'm going to lift like him because if I do that, he's going to look like that. Hey, these are people I'm about to speak about, people I have the utmost respect for. Branch Warren, Johnny Jackson, two guys, not so much because I'm not saying they ego lift, but their form was very, very loose, very ballistic style training. Ronnie, in some cases too, they weren't sitting there and squeezing, slowly focusing, squeezing the muscle. They were just like banging out reps. And I've seen Sam do some serious cheat reps. He was on a Smith machine with doing squats with like, I think 5 plates, just like bouncing out of the bottom and back is all bowed down. And they'll say, well, it works for him. You know what? It's like, that's not going to work for you guys. Trust me. These people with great genetics, and Sam has great genetics plus gear, that gets you can get away with a lot of dumb shit. You can make a lot of mistakes and still get results. You can eat pretty bad. I think he would get even better results if he ate all whole food. I know he is switching to his diet is slowly getting better, but with, better training, better form, slower negatives, things like that. I think he'd be even better than he is right now. Because when someone's got those genetics, they're always going to succeed, but their success, like I always say with these people, when they compete, great genetics will take you. You can do half-ass it and still win a local show with great genetics. Once you get to a regional level, now you got to be a little bit better because now they're going to run into a couple other people with great genetics. Once you get to the national level, now you're up against a bunch of people with the same genetics as you, but most of them are going to be eating perfectly and training very well. So that's where things start to really change, where you've got to step your game up, even with great genetics, or else you're going to get your ass kicked. And then next to the pros, and now forget about it. Everyone's a genetic god at that point. Mike says, don't follow his advice on that. Mike Cox. How bad were the bugs in Australia, Christian?
Bugs, I mean, it's definitely more like extreme in the movies and shows. Did I see big bugs? Yes, but it's not like, it wasn't Skull Island. Yeah, I definitely saw my fair share of like cockroaches. Like if you saw 3 cockroaches in one night, that was normal. Like I said, don't call an exterminator. Like that's just a normal occurrence. Definitely saw the huntsman spider, which is like a spider about as big as my entire hand, probably bigger than that. Dealt with one of those, had to get like a big Tupperware, shuffle it out of the door. Other than that, they weren't bad. They weren't like antagonizing me or anything. They were just minding their own business.
What was that thing that went in your house? It was like a mutated raccoon. What the hell was that?
Oh no, they have there's possums, and I guess one thing that can happen to them is they get these terrible tumors, and it had like a tumor covering its entire face, looked like a zombie. Yeah. It broke into our house, was like in our pantry. Felt terrible. The thing was like dying. Had to like get a broom and try to push it out of the house.
And I can say I've never seen as many bats in my life as when he took us on the first day we went over to see him, my wife and I, because we were there last April. Campus, there was this area, these trees around it was a pond.
It was like a pond, yeah.
There were these trees with like thousands and thousands of bats, and once it started getting dark, they all started flying around. It was nuts, and they were
like 4 foot wide.
Yeah, they were wingspan. Big. These were not little tiny bats. These were big
big fruit bats.
Oh yeah, fruit bats. These were like 4 foot from. Yeah, I've never seen so many huge bats in my life, and to them it was like nobody else was even paying attention. I was sitting there recording them, like, wow,
it's like seeing a pigeon.
Yeah, to them it was like a pigeon. So yeah, certainly cooler animals. Your son looks a lot like your wife, and your daughter looks like you, Ron. Yeah, it's funny when they say he's like. I think I see more of like Janet in him, but I think we have some similar features for sure. But yeah, yeah, I'd say my daughter looks more like me when she's all made up though, with the makeup and fake lashes and everything. I think she looks a lot more like Janet.
Because they both wear makeup.
Yeah. So we got a clarification. Sam doesn't give anyone advice, just talking his journey. He's not telling people to do anything. I agree with you, that guy 6. I know he doesn't tell people, but he is an example. He's a role model, whether he wants to be or not. People are going to imitate whatever he's doing because they look up to him. They're followers of him. He's like a hero to a lot of these kids, because he's down to earth. He's close to their age, and he's wildly successful. He's got this great physique. I think he's making millions of dollars a year now off his various.
Probably.
Yeah, and different endorsements and contracts and things he's got going on. So he's a very, very successful kid, and God bless him. It's not easy to be that successful. So I commend him for that, and I also commend him for not telling people, like trend twins. I don't know a lot about them either, so don't come down on my ass. I think they're kind of not as popular anymore. Right?
I don't know. They're not as well known as Sam.
Yeah, as soon as he came along, it's like everyone was like forgot all about the trend twins, but. Yeah, he doesn't talk about his drug use or promote it. He doesn't promote the way he eats, but he is setting an example that his followers are going to follow because they want to be him. So yeah, it's nothing personal. I think he's a cool kid. I've only seen a couple of his videos, but he comes across as very likable. So God bless the kid. Mike Cox, is Jen on board with Christian possibly doing the show? Yeah, Mom doesn't seem to have any.
I don't think she like doesn't want me to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm waiting for the right time in terms of I don't think his physique is ready. He still needs a couple things. His legs are good, shoulders are good. He needs more back thickness. He's got good width. He's got a very small waist. Chest is good. So really, it's just back thickness I want more of, and
a little more shoulders,
more arms. You know,
yeah.
I don't know if I pass this on him or not, but he doesn't have easy time building arms. Like you'll see some kids that's all they have is these big arms. They got like nothing else really. Definitely not him. But and also it's a time thing. He was thinking about doing one while he was still in school. I'm saying no. You got enough to worry about with all your classes and all that. You know, I think anyone who competes should look and see what's going on in their life and make sure that it makes sense for that time in their life. Are you prepared? You know, time wise, finance wise. It's a huge commitment if you're going to be dieting for 16 weeks or more. Yeah, Mike says his kids are impressionable. They'll do what he says. That Tina did what Weeder said. Yeah, and like I said, we stayed natural back then. Because we didn't know there were. I didn't know that there were. When I started training, I had no idea that these things called steroids existed. Never heard of them. They were not even in the media at all until that 88 Olympics, the Summer Olympics, when Ben Johnson got the runner, the sprinter got he tested positive for Winstrol. Up until then, I'd never heard any mention of them in the media ever, not once. And you know, over the years, everyone now you ask anybody, even like a little grandma. She knows what steroids are. Contest diet follow. Well, I think actually, in a sense, it makes some things easier because the flare-ups are mostly brought on by what kinds of food give you the worst flare-ups?
I mean, if I'm ever eating fast food, it's like a given. Anything with a lot of sugar, it's a given. Anything with gluten, it's going to do things. Those are the big ones. And
what is a flare-up? What happens when you have a flare-up?
Like TMI, I guess. But
let's give it's basically like nonstop diarrhea.
Yeah, explosive diarrhea. Like
you're in he's in the bathroom like all day.
In the worst of it, I would have it like 5 to 6 times a day for 2 months straight. That was probably the worst flare-up I've ever had. Right in like the winter when I first got diagnosed when I was 20. Yeah.
I mean, I remember times when we'd go to the gym and he'd say, be in the middle of a workout, he could feel it coming on. He's like, I go to the bathroom. He wouldn't come back from the bathroom for like a half hour. So I'd have to finish the workout by myself and then just train him or whatever. So the fact that junk foods are what gives him the worst flare-ups and he can't eat, gluten's a bad thing for him too. I think a contest diet isn't that different from how he should be eating anyway, because eating very clean and avoiding spices are bad for you, right?
Yeah.
Nuts are bad, not good for you.
Yeah.
Isn't fiber bad for you too?
Fiber, yeah. Small seeds. It's like everything.
Yeah. So I mean, his diet, Mike, would be the basic, chicken, rice. You don't really eat potatoes.
I mean, I would eat potatoes for the sake of a contest diet.
A little bit of eggs. He doesn't like eggs too much. You'd end up eating a lot of chicken, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fine. I like chicken. I mean, eggs, I just have trouble eating them in the morning. It's like that was one thing with colitis is like I get very nauseous in the morning. Don't have much of an appetite.
Now, is red meat bad for the colitis too?
Yes.
So a lot of chicken, fish. We like salmon.
Yeah.
Do you like any other kind of fish?
Like cod, I like halibut.
Okay, so chicken, fish, a little bit of eggs. Vegetables aren't really a good idea because of the fiber for you.
Give me a lot of chicken and rice.
He doesn't like fruit. The only fruit that you can eat
is pineapple. Everything else is too acidic.
Yeah, so it'd be a very bland, very plain diet for him. Get those pull-ups and dips. Yeah, he does them both.
Yeah, today.
Does them both. Sulik does give advice all the time. He explains all these dumb diet hacks and training hacks. That's advice. He literally says that's what to do.
Oh.
The diet. Thanks, Sean. The diet hacks is like he's really just reiterating the whole "if it fits your macros" philosophy, which is if you get in 500 grams of carbs a day, it doesn't matter whether it's coming from a baked potato or Fruity Pebbles cereal, which technically he's right. Technically, they're all glucose in the end, but eating a lot of junk food, it's not a healthy thing. Who cares about health? Well, it's you could get away with eating a lot of shit like that, Pop-Tarts and cereal, a lot of sugar, a lot of processed food when you're young, and you still be able to pull it off because your body's so resilient. But as time goes on, you keep eating crap food, it's going to show. You're going to look crappy. You're going to feel like crap. It's like a lot of you have noticed. If those of you who've competed, you noticed that when you went off your diet right after the contest, start eating all this crap food again that you've been craving. Personally, I know, and I've talked to enough people to know it's a universal phenomenon. You just feel like disgust, like, oh, you feel like you're poisoned yourself because you kind of have. You're eating all this clean, fresh, wholesome food, and now you're putting all these freaking chemicals and sugar and God knows what. You can feel physically like, ugh, you don't feel good. You could feel like something's really wrong, like you've been putting some poison in your body.
It's like me after Burger King.
Mike Cox says, yeah, Muscle Tech cooks me up. 6-star back in 07 to 08. So many subs each month. Yeah. I don't want to divulge. I've given away a lot to people around us, but I had at one point so many supplements in our finished basement that it looked like a GNC down there. It still has. We still have a good amount down there, but yeah.
It's too much.
Great company. And, just to let you guys know, I am going to be starting up on Muscle Tech's YouTube within a couple weeks. Going to be starting up a podcast for Muscle Tech. That was one of the main reasons they brought me on, was they wanted me to do one, and I couldn't because I was the online editor for muscular development. It was a conflict of interest. Now that there is no muscular development anymore, there's no conflict of interest. So that's coming up soon. I'll let you guys know about that. Let's see what else. Just shave it. Well, Mike, it's too late. The airline tickets are non-refundable. So end of this month, I'm going to Istanbul, Turkey, to the same place that Bumstead. I had my trip planned way before Bumstead went and did that. So I'm not copying Chris Bumstead and Ian Valier, but I'm going to that same place now, Hair Time in Istanbul. And we're going to bring my hairline back to where it was. It was like around here. Let's see, where's yours? It's around. Well, let's just say it's going to fill in this gap. I'm going to make sure they don't make it straight across because my natural hairline is not a straight line. I'd look ridiculous. But yeah, Mike, they shave your head for that. So I am going to have a bald head when I come back. It's going to be all raw with all
like
these.
Batista.
I personally think, and Janet agrees, that I would look awful. I would look like some neo-Nazi in jail or something with my head shaved. I don't know. It's not something I'm looking forward to. Dad is a legend. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you roll your eyes every time, because every time we're at a gym or something, people come up to him and go, your dad is this, you got the best trainer, that
best coach ever.
Yeah, he's like, I know he's like sick of hearing, because he's literally almost every time we train, someone will come up and tell him that. There are fantastic hair systems now. Yeah, I mean, we checked out the results. It's not a decision I made like in a lightly or quickly. It was something I thought about for a while. I don't need to have it, but it does. I am self-conscious. I'm actually more self-conscious about the back that I can't see unless I look in the mirror, but I know that everyone behind me can see that little bald spot. I even have this I call it shoe polish. It's actually like a spray for people with gray hairs that they can just spray it so that one area is brown or black or whatever, like the rest of their hair. I was putting that on there, but I don't think I was fooling too many people.
I don't know. Where, the Olympia?
Well, I've been doing it for like a good solid year, but I don't know. I look pretty stupid. If you follow Sam's Looks Training Advice or Diet, she's ever torn labrum on the side of arteriosclerosis. Ooh, yeah, that's harsh. Well, I mean, they're going to imitate what they see. They're not going to. If a 15-year-old kid has a choice of listening or emulating Sam or me, who's he going to emulate? He's going to imitate Sam. Even if I looked good when I was much younger, they were like, that was then. Those, we call them old heads. Is that what they call them?
I say old heads.
Old heads, and they think we're stupid, and like the young kids now, they know everything because things have advanced so much. But training and diet really haven't advanced so much. 18 hours. Yeah, I mean, measurements are a funny thing, the one and only. Some people can get 20-inch arms naturally. Some people will never get like more than a 14-inch naturally. You have to have an 18-inch natural arm. You have to have pretty good arm genetics. I never had 18-inch arms naturally. They were like 16 and a half, 17 natural. Biggest they ever were on gear was like 18 and a half. I got one up to 19, this one, but it was so much fat. I can't claim that as a measurement because I was like 240, 245, face out to here, big fucking fat pumpkin face. So when you flex your arm and nothing happens because it's just a big blob of fat, I don't think I can claim that as a measurement. Cycles are expensive. Yeah, well, and then you're beholden to that system. Yeah, once you start steroids, you're never going to stop. You're never going to want to stop. Maybe you'll be forced to because you can't afford it, you can't get them, or you have a health problem, or for whatever reason. But I intended back in late 1996 to do one cycle. You know, here I am 10 billion cycles later. Clearly, I didn't do just one cycle, because once you experience that and you've looked a certain way and you're used to getting that attention and getting that validation, you lose it. You know, it's devastating. It's depressing. You're watching yourself going back to a normal human from a superhuman, which is why most people never. It's an addiction. It's more of a psychological addiction. It's like once people feel that rush of cocaine or meth or whatever, they always want to feel that, and they stop the drugs. And now it's like, I feel like shit. I want to feel good again. Steroids are very, very similar. They're just not addictive in the classic sense that like an opiate or something would be. Golden age, yeah, chunk. Oh, Mike, he's talking about Mike. Oh yeah, Mark. He's going to stay consistent with the food intake for sure.
Oh yeah,
because now that he's seen the gains that he can make just by eating the way I've been trying to get him to eat. You know, every 2 to 3 hours, whole food, a solid meal every 2 to 3 hours. He's never going back now.
My brain's literally been rewired.
It's a lot of work, though, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's the hardest thing.
It's planning. You can't just like wait until you get hungry and then start looking around for something to eat. Like that's what most people do in the world. You have to plan out, what am I going to eat tomorrow? I got to have this cooked, that cooked, and my wife helps him a lot. She makes up like these she meal preps for him.
God bless her.
For most, she makes him like chicken and rice meals, freezes them so he has them to take to work. And she gets these things from Trader Joe's, the meals that he can heat up for other meals too. But yeah, it's a lot of eating. It's a lot of planning. Yeah. I wasn't fat by like normal human terms. Yeah. Bodybuilders we have a much higher, what's the word I'm looking for? Standard. Yeah. We hold ourselves to a much higher standard. So, we can compete and be shredded to the bone. Then a week later, when we can still see veins and cuts everything, go, I'm fat again.
It's like body dysmorphia.
Yeah, it is body dysmorphia. Yeah, it's actually, there's a psychological term. I think it was the guy at Harvard, Dr. Harrison Pope. Muscle dysmorphia. It's an actual clinical diagnosis now in that book called The Psychiatric Disorders Are In.
Sure.
There is one. Okay, so now you have Natalia Coelho, obrigado. So, in Italian.
The Olympia.
She was a Ms. Olympia or Olympia physique champion. She got second place. She's going to be trying to get her title back this year. Appreciate you stopping by, Natalia. Let's see, you got any more? He's got to eat again soon. So there's a lot of followers. So Jim Jones. Who's Jim Jones, Christian?
I'm assuming he's like a competitive eater. No? Okay.
Do you know what drink the Kool-Aid means?
Oh, that's the guy at the cult?
Jonestown. The Jonestown.
Okay, yeah.
It was 1978, I think it happened, in Jonestown, Guyana.
Yeah, I know now.
1,000 of them all drank the cyanide-laced Kool-Aid and died because he told them to. Sam has said several times, do not eat like him, and they're probably better off eating cleaner foods. Well, good.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
Yeah, then I commend him. Like I said, I have nothing against Sam at all. I'd love to meet him. He comes across as a really likable, cool guy. I'd love to meet Sam. He obviously has a huge passion for this, just like we do. So I'm sure we have a lot more in common than not.
Probably, yeah.
So you're a jealous hater. No, God bless the kid. He's, in a world where a lot of people have no goals, no ambition, and they're not getting anything done. This kid's getting a lot of stuff done. I ate like crap when I was 21 too. LOL. I was cutting diet is a lot cleaner. His form was looking better. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, back when I was 21, I was eating super clean when I was 21 because I was told by John Perillo was one guy I really believed in his nutritional concept. So I was eating very plain chicken breasts, plain baked potatoes. I wouldn't even put a even fake butter on it. Broccoli, tuna out of the can because I didn't have enough money for real fish, and a lot of eggs. Oatmeal. I eat very clean, but Crohn's Lifter, I'm glad you stopped by. I appreciate it because he's been someone that Christian sort of followed too. So glad because he's dealing. Crohn's is a more serious. It's a more harsh form of colitis, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure colitis is just a form of Crohn's.
Okay, they're all things you don't want to be
Yeah, I 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Prince. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sounds like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Chris is a huge fan of Jurassic Park. Am I going to be starting a new podcast with Giles, Jesse? Yeah, I'd love to. He's going to be doing stuff with his own channel. I'll collaborate with him and vice versa. So this channel, I'm not doing too much with other people yet. I'm very close to being able to monetize this channel, and I can get sponsors, things like that, and I can take it to another level. This should be the last free video that I have to do for YouTube. After that, I can go back to monetizing. And once I can do that, I'm going to bring back Dr. Tuliatos, the Ask Dr. T show, which is a great thing. He's been missing doing his show. I've been missing doing it. And I'll be doing stuff with Giles. We actually have a couple videos together on this channel if you want to go back and look. We did a year in review for 2023. Came out a couple weeks ago that I think he did a great job. I wasn't too bad. We reviewed all the top stories of the year, so check that out if you haven't seen that already. Trend Twins are reckless. Well, look at their name. What's your son's current diet?
A lot of rotisserie chicken and rice.
Yeah, this stuff that's easy to make.
Yeah, the occasional get like mac and cheese from Trader Joe's. Put some extra rotisserie chicken in there for more protein. It's really just chicken and rice. I'll have like gluten-free waffles in the morning with like Fairlife milk. I don't have like any appetite in the morning. It's really all I can get down.
Fairlife is lactose-free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one. I was trying for years to get him to force him to eat a big breakfast, and eventually I realized it wasn't that he didn't want to, just literally didn't have the appetite. Your kid, if you're dumb enough to follow exactly what he's saying, then you deserve exactly. The onus is on the viewer. Your wife follows Kardashians. That's worse. How does he know that? Hair loss is genetic. Enjoy the hair now.
I mean, my grandfather on mom's side, he's got the full head of hair still. So
80,
fingers crossed. Yeah,
like 83.
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah, if it comes from the mom side of the family, which it must, because my older brothers, I have 3 older brothers and 1 younger. The younger one has my dad. The 3 olders have a different dad. We all have the same mother, and we all have the same hair. So that makes sense that we all have the same hair. Yeah. So his mom's side of the family, her dad, his abuelo, Pepe, he has a full head of hair. I don't know. Does he have a little thinning hair? Maybe
it might be thinning, but
it's
like
about
it's
the
all
same.
there.
It's about the same amount as me, and he's 83 years old. So God bless him. It's Instagram handle is @Quentin, right?
Yeah, I like that's like my personal Instagram. I'm thinking about making one for like the public and actually doing like more influencer stuff, like post workouts, lifts.
Yeah,
we'll see.
For right now, it's Quentin, Kwittin, which is how a small child might pronounce Christian. Quentin.
Yeah.
Kwittin. Prep can suck. Something about seeing your body change week after week. What are you gonna eat next? Do you even know?
There's like some chicken and rice type frozen meal.
Okay.
In there, I'm gonna have.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let him go in a minute. So we can do that. Yeah, prep. Prep is. There's nothing like your first show. Watching. You've never been ripped before.
No.
You've never really seen what your muscles look like. You know what I'm saying?
The closest is like wrestling when I weighed like 112 pounds.
Yeah. So I tell everyone to compete at least once, just to give yourself that gift of seeing what your body looks like with all the fat, because you'd be surprised. You'd be like, oh my God, wow, I had these striations. I had this there. I had that. I never saw that. Your legs, oh my God, I had these veins. I had that little split, that striation. It's freaky how you're seeing these things that were lurking under the fat that you had no idea were even there. And just being up on stage. Either one of 2 things will happen. Once you get on that stage and you go through that day, either you're like, oh my God, that was awesome. I can't wait to do that again. Or, well, I'm glad I did it, but that's cool. I don't need to ever do that again. I told you over 60 you should not do cardio if you're weight training. I'm true to that. Over 60 is cardio is much more important than weight training for your heart and your lungs. Yeah, the old man. That is a terrible, terrible advice. Do not skip cardio.
Cardio is one of the best things.
If you're over 40, your health should start taking a lot more precedence over just the vanity aspect of it. So cardio is much, much more important. Healthy heart, healthy lungs. #1 killer of men around the world, still heart disease by a landslide. Best way to do that, eat clean and do cardio. It's been proven. You can Google it. People that do consistent cardio like every day, they have they're 10 times less likely to have a heart attack than someone who does none and they're overweight. So if you're overweight and inactive, you're like a heart attack waiting to happen, especially as you get older. All right, last question, then I'm gonna let him go. push you to the prostate tons picture. You'll love it.
All right, we'll do.
All right. Well, guys,
thank you.
So we've been doing this for an hour now. I appreciate all of you stopping by, asking questions. If you're watching this on replay, I thank you for watching too. It's my son Christian. I thank you for taking the hour out of your busy schedule today.
Oh, of course.
and answering all these questions for people. And that's it. So, guys, appreciate you supporting the channel. Please subscribe if you're not already. It doesn't cost you anything. Helps me out. Like the video. Share the video. If you're watching this on replay, leave some comments. We respond to all the comments. I'll even make him respond to them. So that's it. Happy New Year, everybody. Let's get out there and make 2024 a great one. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Peace out.